إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله فقد قال الله في القرآن الحكيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون وقال تعالى يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا وقال تعالى والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر وقال الله تعالى ويل لكل همزة لمزة الذي جمع ماله وعدده يحسب أن ماله أخلده كلا لينبذن في الحطمة وما أدراك ما الحطمة نار الله الموقدة التي تطلع على الأفئدة إنها عليهم مؤصدة في عمد ممددة صدق الله العلي العظيم وصدق الذكر الحكيم وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بني الإسلام على خمس شهادة أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمد رسول الله وإقام الصلاة وإيتاء الزكاة وتحج البيت وتصوم رمضان اللهم ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Verily Allah Jalla wa Ala has gathered us upon another auspicious day of the best days in the week, the day of Jumu'ah. He, Allah Jalla wa Ala, has commanded us to gather at the masajids, to sit for a short period of time, to do what? Remember Him. He, Allah Jalla wa Ala, has blessed us with one of the most sacred of reminders, and that is Al-Quran. And some of the advices that Allah Jalla wa Ala had given us in the Quran, we would like to reflect upon today. And hopefully, inshallah, it will have an impact upon our lives. For verily, He, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, tells us beautiful in an hadith that verily reminders are beneficial for those who believe. So, bi'idhnillah ta'ala, we should reflect upon the two surahs that I would have recited, where Allah Jalla wa Ala, His words translate to mean, by time, verily man is lost. Wal asr, innal insana lafi khusr. Allah Jalla wa Ala says, by time, verily man is lost, except for those who believe, except for those who encourage each other to do good, except for those who are truthful, and except for those who are patient. He, Allah Jalla wa Ala, also tells us in another surah that is just after Surah Asr, in Surah Humazah. And this, my dear believing brothers and sisters in Islam, we should contemplate upon the words of Allah Jalla wa Ala, where He, Allah Jalla wa Ala, begins His surah by saying, His words translate to me more or less, woe be unto the backbiter and the slanderer. So let us reflect. When our parents would have told us, woe be unto you if you do such and such, we contemplate our next move. We contemplate whether to do such. For example, when our parents used to say, woe be unto you if you put your hands into those pots and take out a piece of chicken. So we'll contemplate, is it worth the burn in our stomachs to be beaten? So here Allah Jalla wa Ala says, Wailun, woe be unto those who backbite and those who slander. So in order to know what Allah Jalla wa Ala is talking about, let's look at the literal meaning of a backbiter. A backbiter is someone that speaks. Someone that speaks that which is truth about a person in front of his face or behind his back. And that individual that he is speaking about, he does not like that which is being spoken about him. However, it is not being spoken to someone of authority, whereby that person can be able to make right the situation with the individual. So let's say, for example, you slander, you backbite someone, but you're not speaking to the supervisor, your person in authority, or the Amir. So here Allah Jalla wa Ala is saying, woe be unto that person. What is a slanderer? A slanderer is someone that speaks false of someone in or out of their presence. Here Allah Jalla wa Ala says, وَيْلٌ لِكُلِّ هُمَزَةٍ لُمَزَةٍ. Woe be unto that backbiter. Woe be unto that slanderer. See, in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, persons used to use their wealth as a means of authority. So they thought their wealth would have been able to make them get away with anything. So here Allah Jalla wa Ala says in the next verse that his words translate to mean more or less that he amasses his wealth thinking that his wealth will be able to avail him. Know that your wealth will not be able to avail you. Know that your wealth will not be able to avail you. So let us look at it in the nowadays time, because the Quran Al-Majid is a reference for every time. So here, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he explained to us beautifully in a hadith that translates to mean more or less that verily every part and every limb of the body courses the tongue. More or less every part or every limb of the body pleads with the tongue every morning, do not be the means of us entering into Jahannam. Do not be the means of us entering into Jahannam. He, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, tells us again beautifully in another ahadith, where his words translate to mean more or less that you will be guaranteed paradise. You will be guaranteed Jannah if you promise me you can safeguard 2 limbs of the body. If you can safeguard 2 limbs of the body. What are those 2 limbs, my dear believing brothers and sisters in Islam? Those 2 limbs are the limb between your legs and the limb between your jaw, that which is the tongue. If you can safeguard these 2 limbs, you will be promised Jannah. Jannah will become easy for you. We hear the advice verily from our teachers, from our alim, from our parents, from our grandparents, from our supervisors. You don't have anything good to say? Keep quiet. This is not an advice to subdue your tongue. This is not an advice to suppress you, my dear believing brothers and sisters in Islam. This is an advice to help you to gain Jannah. This is an advice to help you gain Jannah. A place where rivers flow beneath you. A place where there's nothing but milk and honey to eat. Anything that the mind perceives, that is there. It becomes a reality. A place where there is no sin. So the next time you think about slandering someone, or the next time that you think about backbiting someone, brother so and so, he usually frequents the rum shop, sister so-and-so, she usually beats her children. Brother so-and-so, he usually curse aloud. Knowing that these people would not like for these things to be spoken about them. Contemplate on what you are doing. So if you don't know what you're doing, let me remind you beautifully in another ahadith that translates to me more or less, that on the day of judgment, on Yawm al-Qiyamah, we will stand before Allah Jalla wa Ala. Our deeds will be presented to Allah Jalla wa Ala. And for everyone that we have backbitten and everyone that we have slandered, it is said in the ahadith that translate to me more or less that persons will come with deeds, multiple deeds the size of the Mount of Uhud. And those who have made Hajj, may Allah Jalla wa Ala accept your Hajj. Those who have made Hajj would have been able to see the size of Mount Uhud. And picture it, my dear believing brothers and sisters in Islam. Every janazah that you would have read, it is equivalent to Mount Uhud of blessings. And you come before Allah Jalla wa Ala on that day, hoping that His mercy will supersede and you will enter Jannatul Firdaus. But you would have backbited and slandered brother so-and-so and sister so-and-so in this world. Just because you could not have heeded the advice of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Safeguard that limb, that which is your tongue. And you have to give your Mount Uhud of blessings to this brother or sister. And then you are bankrupt on the day of judgment. You are bankrupt on Yawm al-Qiyamah. And you are told to enter Jahannam. You work so hard, you pray so many salah, you make so much effort to make sure you pay your zakah right. You give charity frequently. You make hajj, you fast. You live a life of 50 plus years. Every Ramadan, you fast. And on that day, just because you could not have heeded that simple advice, where Allah Jalla wa Ala told you that verily man is lost, because we do not enjoin each other to do what? To do right, to do good deeds. It takes 2 persons to backbite and 2 persons or more to slander. Isn't one of you conscious enough of your hereafter? Isn't one of you conscious enough of your akhirah to say, let us do something else? Let us speak about something else. The next time you decide or someone decides to slander or backbite with you, contemplate if your akhirah is worthless. My dear believing brothers and sisters in Islam, Allah Jalla wa Ala is most merciful, He is most beneficent. He, Allah Jalla wa Ala, is also most stern in punishment. He, Allah Jalla wa Ala, is most stern in punishment. Is it worth challenging Allah Jalla wa Ala? Scholars of Quran have explained to us so beautifully that had Allah Jalla wa Ala revealed Surah Asr alone, it would have been sufficient for mankind. Had Allah Jalla wa Ala revealed Surah Asr alone, it would have been sufficient for mankind. He, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, his words translate to mean more or less that backbiting and slandering devours good deeds as fire consumes wood. A house is on fire. By the time we call the fire service and the fire service reaches, the house burned to the ground. Think about your deeds, your good deeds, being burnt like that. Every time you backbite, you slander. وَذِكْرُ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى أَكْبَرُ. We hear it every Jum'ah. Verily the remembrance of Allah Jalla wa Ala is the greatest. We hear the hadith. We hear the hadith so many times before. And let us hear it again. That its words translated mean more or less that where any two person or more gathered in the remembrance of Allah Jalla wa Ala, verily the angels, they come and they sit among that gathering and they pile upon each other until they reach to Allah Jalla wa Ala, and they say so and so person is in your remembrance, so and so person are in your remembrance. And Allah Jalla wa Ala is pleased with you. Here Allah Jalla wa Ala tells us beautifully in another hadith Qudsi, where a portion of it translates to mean more or less that if you come to Allah Jalla wa Ala walking, He will come to you running. If you come to Allah Jalla wa Ala walking, He will come to you running. He, Allah Jalla wa Ala, has made this Jannah that we work so hard for very easy to attain. He, Allah Jalla wa Ala, make this Jannah that our hearts so desires very easy to attain, my dear believing brothers and sisters. Recite your Quran. Be constantly in the remembrance of Allah Jalla wa Ala. Make istighfar. Seek forgiveness of Allah Jalla wa Ala. Implore others to do good. Remember it again, my dear believing brothers and sisters in Islam. The remembrance of Allah Jalla wa Ala is the greatest. Contemplate. Do not let your tongues drag you into Jahannam, but let your tongues enter you into Jannah. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين من كل ذنب فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين اللهم إني نسألك الجنة اللهم إني نسألك الجنة اللهم إني نسألك الجنة اللهم إني نعوذ بك من النار اللهم إني نعوذ بك من النار اللهم إني نعوذ بك من النار ونعوذ بك من عذاب القبر. عباد الله رحمكم الله، إن الله يأمركم بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله يذكركم واشكروه نعمه يزدكم ولذكر الله تعالى أكبر ولذكر الله تعالى أكبر ولذكر الله تعالى ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله أكبر. الله يعلم ما تصنعون وأقيموا الصلاة.